Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels to short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts. It is a good morning. It is a very good morning.
It is a very good morning for me and for listeners. We were all talking last night because I was so sick yesterday that I didn't think I was going to make it. I was speaking at an event and I thought I was going to throw up during my speech. So,
oh God, Steve Turk is alive. Steve Turk is alive.
But
so
because of that, I'm feeling better. And
yes.
This is what makes me happy every week is talking to you and talking to all of you out there. So I'm here at 50%, but I think that's better than a lot of people's 100%, right?
Ooh,
I'll take that.
I think so too.
But because I was down, we had to get a little backup. But this guy's looking too handsome to not have him on air. So we got to bring in Will Slickers. Come join the show.
We have a third host today. Good morning,
Wow.
Will. That early morning energy. Thank you for joining me from the West Coast.
Of course, I'm out here in Portland. I lost an hour, but it was worth it to be with you two, as you guys are really bringing the early morning energy. And Steve, even at 50%, I love that comment. Yep. Your 50% is everyone else's 100, baby. Let's go.
My buddy Victor, my partner Victor Faria told me that. My business partner yesterday was like, just come give the speech. And that's the quote he gave me. I was like, all right, I'll be there.
Oh, that's amazing. So, hey, by the way, good morning, everybody that's joining us. Let us know where you are joining us from, because we want to see that.
Jeremy. Thank you, Lou. Appreciate it.
Ooh, Toronto.
LinkedIn user, what up?
Yeah, I love having the three of us here. And it's been a long time. We should have had a show like this.
It's different not being fully just behind the scenes. You know, I get to run the show as normal, but actually on camera. So I have to actually do my hair today. So, you know.
We got Lou joining us from Charleston. We got, I got some more Charleston content to share, by the way. Lou, stay tuned.
Stay tuned, Lou.
Stay tuned. Steve, so glad, by the way, that you were feeling better. There was such a wonderful surprise. I almost texted you this morning. I was almost texting you, I hope you're feeling better. And then I was like, you know what? If he's like home and really sick, he doesn't need a text from me. I'll text him after the show. And then
text me anytime. But I'll tell you what, I needed to lose some weight, so this has been a good way to do it.
OMG. This is crazy. Crazy.
I love Jeremy's comment. Shout out to Jeremy for always tuning in to every episode, whether it's Monday or Wednesday. But he said we need to pay extra for this show for me being on. Well, if the show was paid, maybe. But, you know, thankfully we're able to bring this content to you guys for free. Yep. So,
good morning, Benny from Miami. Benny from Miami, good to see you here.
All right, so we got Miami in the house. We got LA representing. LA, I don't know what that was.
Maryland, South Carolina, Toronto, man, everywhere. I love it.
In Portland. This is good. We got a lot going on. Ooh. Yes. Oh, very fun. Okay, cool. They're going to be doing their Rotary District Conference. Love that.
You guys get such good live engagement. I love it. What up, Ricardo?
You saw me there not feeling well. So, Ricardo, after I left you, I went home and was very sick. I think I'm going to be here this morning.
So, Steve, what is your secret for illness? Because we've all been in that position, especially for us in hospitality, where you're like, oh my gosh, I am not feeling well, but the show must go on. It is a 24/7 business. Do you have any secret tips?
Ooh, ginger beer, like good quality ginger beer is very helpful, not the cheap kind.
Okay.
But really, when you're not feeling good, the best is, look, your team, if you have a good team, they got to step up. And they're going to step up for you, and you're going to step up for them. But there are certain days that you got to be there. But I say the best remedy is for your team to step up, because that's how they grow new leaders. So
this is true.
Be a leader when I'm not there.
Dropping bombs. Not even 5 minutes into the episode, Steve. 5 minutes in, and you're dropping bombs.
Dude, that's 50%, yo.
Yeah.
50%. We're here.
50% dropping bombs more than other people. Amazing.
I love it. Well, you guys had quite the impressive lineup of topics today, as I was studying to be co-hosting with you.
By the way, how cool is that? We had Will was studying to be on this show.
I don't put in that much effort. I don't put in that much effort on the Monday show. I just show up, and
you're like, I just show up and look pretty. No,
100%.
But you guys had a great show on Monday. I listened to it. It was very good. A lot of good stuff in there, especially talking about my hometown.
Yeah, well, we all know Miami's a hot spot for hospitality in general, from restaurants to short-term rentals to hotels to tech vendors popping up. So we had to cover it. There was a lot of news. And Brandy, we always love a good Brandy rant. So had to make sure we got her to open up a couple of those rants for.
She's the best. I learn a lot from you all every Monday.
Teamwork, so true, so important to it's and just have understanding each other and supporting each other. 100%. I'm all a big fan of that. Happy to be overprepared and underprepared. Yes.
Yeah, it's always good.
That's right.
Well, we got some great topics. How about you lead us? Lead us the way here.
Sarah lead us the way.
I'm leading the way. Don't worry. Your trusty leader here. Oh, gosh. All right. So our first topic here is the JLL report that came out that basically it's this all-inclusive resort sector, the trends and the outlook of it. And basically, for those that don't know, that all-inclusive resort sector has really undergone a big change in the last 30 years. And mainly in one of the biggest ways is how consumers look at it. When all-inclusive first came out, it was like the inexpensive, the cheap way to travel. But what we're really seeing is that a lot of bigger brands and higher level brands are investing in this. The luxury and upper scale all-inclusive market is growing. And even looking at resorts in Mexico and Dominican Republic, on average, the recovery time since the pandemic was significantly higher than other resorts. I know for a fact for myself, one of my first major partnerships that I actually had coming out of the pandemic was with an all-inclusive company. And they were doing great. I would go to the Dominican, I would go to Mexico, and it was pretty busy. And it was great. And it was such a wonderful offering for people that, especially in times that were a little bit where people were wary about traveling, they felt comfortable because they're like, oh, I can go to one place, I'm good. And we've just seen this trend just continue to do really, really well. But what else did you guys kind of see from this article that piqued your interest?
Will, you're the guest. You can go first.
Well, I wouldn't say it was from the article that piqued my interest, but we have many podcasts in our network and in our community of hospitality. And one of the things that kind of stood out when reading the all-inclusive piece, which will also tie into another kind of topic we'll talk about, but Chris Osaka was a guest of mine, and he was basically telling me like around what they're trying to build within their company. And with the drive of all-inclusive resorts, he came from the Hilton world, which is another topic we'll have today. But he was talking about like, when I go on vacation, I just want to shut off. I don't want to have to think about where to go to eat, what to do for activities. I just want to go sit in the sun, have a cocktail, have a good food, have a good meal, and enjoy my time, right? And I'm the same way. When I travel for vacation or personal use, I don't want to have this long itinerary of like going to go hike here and go do this and go do all these things. Like, I just want to chill at the resort.
I want to relax.
I want to relax. I want to shut off. And I think this is just my kind of prediction or guess, is that a lot of travelers now probably are kind of burnt out from the itinerary planning and just want to chill, and they just want to be able to choose when to go do things. So an all-inclusive resort is kind of the perfect option, right? Like, you have maybe 2 to 3 restaurants on site, maybe all 3 or 4 or however many are different cuisine style. Then you have your activities for kids, maybe if it's an all adult only, then you have your activities for adults. So I just think it's an easy go-to solution to not have to over plan and overthink. And I think Americans especially are loving that because we're a busy bunch over here. So that's my thought. What about you guys?
Love it.
Yeah, I was lucky enough 2 weeks ago to interview Christopher Calabrese, who's the general manager and vice president of the Marriott Cancun and JW Marriott Cancun. And it's the first Marriott owned all-inclusive is the Marriott Cancun. So the very first. And he said the reason they're going all in is because they see that people want to travel this way, and they really want to elevate the experience to where it's not just like cheap booze and cheap food and that's it. They want to make it really nice, high end, to where you don't have to worry about getting food poisoning like maybe I had 2 days ago, right? So,
well, and Sarah, you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, like leading into this story. I think it's it's really interesting on how it was the cheap option, right? Like this was the like, oh, this is like what all the American families do for vacation. Well, I think it's interesting during COVID, and this is kind of maybe a TMI personal story. But during COVID, like 2021, where everyone's still kind of like, all right, we could travel. Air flights like are cheap as hell.
Super cheap. Yep.
You still have to wear a mask, but like it was pretty much like pick of the litter. And I was dating someone who was on this show called Married at First Sight, and we went to an all-inclusive resort in Mexico, and it was awesome. I will never not remember that time as a good time because the Oleo Resort.
You dated somebody from the show, Married at First Sight?
Yeah. It was a wild time in COVID. It was a wild time in COVID. That's why I said a little TMI. But we had a great time, and we're still friends today. So shout out to
And I thought my COVID romances were scandalous. Nope.
But you know what's funny about this, I think, too? Yeah, I think cruise ships push this, right? Because more and more of these cruise ships are getting so nice, and you have everything there. Like, as my family, like, I love cruise ships, especially the big ones now. And so I think resorts are starting to see that too.
Totally. And yeah, I love that. This a great comment here, Lou, in regard to the cruise ships.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yep.
Yeah, but it is something that's very interesting. Look, at the end of the day, you're going to have different types of travelers. So I always see this, and especially in the travel space that I'm in, as far as like travel content creators, I see some of those people that are like, they're like, oh, you don't want to be just a tourist. You want to be a traveler. And I'm like, bro, chill out. Like, not everybody wants to like go wading through the jungles in like Rwanda and what, and by the way, nothing wrong with that, but it's like some people just want, like, some people only have such a limited time off and they just want to go and unplug, and they've always wanted to do that. So all-inclusives are a great option. They're also really good for a big trend that we've talked about before. I always talk about it on my TV segments, multi-generational travel, grandparents to grandkids. Everybody's taken care of. You don't have to worry about mobilizing if you don't want to. I mean, all-inclusives, like they really have a lot going for them. You just choose wisely. You choose what you want. There are family oriented ones, there are couple oriented ones. There's all different types. There's even nude all-inclusive. So whatever you want, there's something out there for you. I have not been there. Definitely didn't do any photos
there. Interesting, Sarah. What I've learned or I've heard is that those new places, those are the people you don't want to see nude anyway.
This is true. Hard to make content in those places. So I definitely wasn't there filming. All right, why don't we go on to our next topic here, which I'm actually really excited about. Luxury hotel merchandise is in high demand. And here's why. So it's interesting. A lot of people are looking at this sort of like branded garb, so to speak, whether it's sweatshirts, hats, etc., as a sign of stealth wealth. It's this sort of quiet luxury trend. And it's interesting. Like people, and I'll give you like examples. Like you've got the Beverly Hills Hotel, for example, right down the street from me. Everybody knows the iconic lettering of the Beverly Hills Hotel. They've got hats, sweatshirts, and there are other companies, by the way, that are selling merchandise with their logo on it, or at least a version of the logo, so they can get away with it. The Chateau Marmont, 5 blocks down that way. So it's really interesting to see that this is still it's a trend, and more people are really getting into it. But what's fascinating is because it's almost like this understood camaraderie. Like if you see somebody else that's wearing a whatever shirt, a Beverly Hills Hotel shirt, and you've got one, I got you. Like we both stayed there. But what are you guys seeing in regards to this? Because this article was interesting, and there's some good names in here, some people I know too. So which is fun.
Yeah, I would say, look, being where I'm from, you have this strip of hotels,
Yeah.
and you see everybody's wearing their hat from that brand, whether it's the Thai hat or the Nobu hat or the Ritz Carlton or the Faina. But one of my favorites that was mentioned is actually a client of mine on the consulting side is the Colony Hotel in Palm Beach, and they
Mm-hmm.
have a monkey that is their logo, and I forgot the
Mm-hmm.
name of the monkey, but he has a whole backstory. And it's located all over on their hats, on their robes. Everything is branded to a T. I actually have some of it behind me, this pink book above me
Oh,
from the
that's
colony.
fun.
So I collect it, and I'm aware of these things, especially if
Yeah,
I've worked there. I have all the swag, but you see it. People love it, and they spend a ton of money on these things,
yep,
especially if you have the right branding.
totally.
100%. And not to keep doing this, I promise I won't do this on every topic, but another
Another personal
conversation.
story, the last
Not
girlfriend you dated?
no, not a
I'm
personal
into this
story.
show. Right, this is a different type of show.
Yeah, this is a different type of tea in the morning. No,
Woo.
so with guests I've also had on other shows, Richard Walter from Muse, he and I had the conversation. Shout out to
Richard.
Richard if you're watching or listening. Great company, by the way. Like they are just insane. Like I love watching their growth. And so if you guys want to learn more about Muse, I can always share like all the data I've collected over the last 3 or 4 years. But long story short, Richard and I were talking about hotels and lodging in general, right? Like the ability to occupy the attention of your guests for the 8 hours that they're with you, most likely, right? They're usually here
Mhm.
to stay the night, to have a bed, wake up, have coffee, and go do their thing. So you have maybe about 8 hours of their attention. Once they leave your hotel, you don't have their attention. So how do hoteliers, short-term rental operators, anyone in the lodging sector capture the attention of guests beyond the hotel? And that's through merch, and that's becoming a
Mhm.
lifestyle brand. So how do you capture the 24 hours rather than the 8 hours they're with you? And I think that is the ultimate question he and I kind of discovered or discussed on our show. But this is such a cool way of doing it. Like
Yeah.
merch, I love rocking not name brand. Like I'm a big Lululemon guy or Viore guy, but like if I can rock a hotel brand or like even Steve, Ben from Onera,
Yep.
Ben Wolf, like if I could rock some Onera gear or anything like that, I will rock that. Like I'm personally a fan of it. So getting that bigger share of the pie of my 24 hours from these hotel and hospitality brands is super important. So I think like this is for all you hotel listeners out there. I think this is super interesting for how can you get in the 24-hour space rather than just the 8 hours they're with you.
Yeah. And if you're
Ooh.
listening, does your hotel have merch right now being sold in their gift shops, or do you buy them? Let us know here in the comments. We'd love to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, and by the way, it's more than just sweatshirts, hats. This
the
article was
Clothing,
robes, coffee
robes,
mugs.
but then yeah, you've got
cocktail
ashtrays.
sets.
What at Eden Rock Hotel in St. Bart, for example, they have a chessboard that's like eighteen thousand
18.
dollars. Yeah, $18,000. But you were talking about the Colony Palm Beach, and their CEO, President Sarah Wettenhall, by the way, was talking about how it's this brand of merchandise. It's like it shows that you're a part of a certain social circle.
Yep.
And I also love that they talked to it was what Jeff Klein, Sunset Tower Hotel, also right down the street. So by the way, it's not like TMI now, but I literally live off of Sunset Boulevard in West Hollywood. So all of these famous iconic hotels are walking distance from where I am. And so it's fascinating to hear people talk about it. And I will say, if I would see somebody out wearing one of those sweatshirts or a hat or something, I would smile or maybe say something because I'm like, "Hey, homie, you're you're from my neck of the woods," you know. That's a little bit more of like a neighborhood nod than a "oh, I've stayed there" nod. But it's absolutely. I love what you were saying, Will. Your conversation with Richard, as far as like making it a 24-hour sort of visibility or experience. That's awesome.
Yeah, I would say like we hear like Airbnb says like our biggest competition is hotels, and then
Mhm.
hotels, their biggest competition is, maybe let's say COVID because everyone had to shut down.
Yeah,
But definitely would say like the biggest competition for hoteliers or even any lodging sector really is going to be time. It's time.
yeah,
You need to be able to get in front of them longer than just the 8 hours of them sleeping at your property. So
totally.
Yeah, that's
we got Kelly.
that's
Look at
fine.
Kelly. Kelly rocking her Nobu hat today. She says.
Oh my god.
There we go.
See?
Come on, Kelly. Let's
I gotta
go.
figure out like what other merchandise I have. I just have like a bunch of water bottles.
Ah, you got to get some sweet hats. Hats are the easy way to go. I've got all my
I am
Mandarin hat, my Lowe's
I am a
hat.
sweatshirt freak. I have so many sweatshirts. So if I have a cool sweatshirt, I will rock the heck out of it. So just saying, anybody want to like use me as a mobile billboard? I will wear your sweatshirt.
This whole crew will wear any hotel hospitality gear. If you're watching or listening,
we'll wear merch for free.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we did some nice stuff though, but she mentioned Nobu. Nobu signed up and did something called the Sushi Club. And it's just fair. It's a sushi club with 2 chopsticks, but then it's whatever city it's in. And it sells out because they charge a ton of money for it. And they like teamed up with like Kith, I think, or someone.
Of course
it's like
they
a
did.
Brand, and then they sell it out. But it's crazy.
Dude,
but anyhow,
I remember when Kith was starting and like their CEO founder used to stay at my hotel, and it was this funny stories from that time. But yeah. Anyway, okay. So we have to talk about this Hilton topic because we're just we got so much. But I feel like you guys should probably take the lead on this. But Hilton is partnering with AutoCamp to offer this sort of elevated outdoor lodging experience, which is great. So if you are a Hilton rewards member, any Hilton guest can actually basically end up staying in different national parks, custom airstreams, luxury tents, all of that. What are you guys seeing that from this article that really kind of like piqued your interest?
Well, I'll jump in and then Will jump in here because I love seeing this right off the bat because you and I, Sarah, have talked about this now a couple of times where the outdoor experience and hospitality is continuing to grow. And we kept saying people from the big companies are going to get involved. And now Hilton is taking this first giant swing to get in with AutoCamp, which is one of the leaders in creating this outdoor experience and really do it at a high level. And so it just shows that what all 3 of us have talked about in different forms is going to continue. So this is not a fad. This is something that's going to be a long-term trend. And I know that Will talks a lot about this on his show. So Will, what are you thinking about this when you saw this come out yesterday?
Well, I'm not surprised, but I am at the same time. And I'll tell you why, because we just had the roundtable, the unique stays and outdoor hospitality roundtable, and hearing from people like Jeremy Wells and Ben Wolf and Sangeeta and Michael Golden, the outdoor space is such I don't think it's a trend. I think it's actually a fun, like you know how some people are just too early, right? Like, and it's like, okay, outdoor hospitality wasn't as big of a thing. COVID definitely accelerated a lot of things, and now we're in that perfect peak window. And I see you, Quentin. I knew you were going to be on the show, so thank you for tuning in and viewing. But I'm not surprised by this because of the popularity. I'm interested, and I want to know your thoughts, Steve, because I know you're building out your own stuff too. I'm interested to see when are they going to buy these companies, because I think it's interesting that a big brand like Hilton is partnering with another brand and promoting them. Usually you don't see a lot of promotion of other companies. They like try to keep a lot of that in-house. So, you know, maybe this is the trial run to see, okay, when are we going to acquire AutoCamp and maybe other brands similar to them or at a higher scale, like Onera or any others.
Yeah, or they're also leaning into just their name and their reputation, because you know when you don't think of glamping when you think of Hilton, you know. So it actually is probably a more strategic partnership as their entry into it. You're right, and then maybe they end up, you know, kind of absorbing that more, and they can have more of like, oh, your Hilton Airstreams, or maybe not, and maybe they just kind of keep it this way because it's just a small part of the bigger pie.
My bet, sitting that executive committee room would have gone like this. All right, we see this blowing up. We see headlines everywhere. Hey, Steve Turk on this team, go contact a bunch of these outdoor ones, go research them, see which one's the best run that won't embarrass us. And let's start putting our people to get points to it. And if they do a great job and we see the data, because they're going to be booked through their point system, then we know if this is a real deal or not. And we could either buy people or start to make our own. So that's what I think happened in that meeting.
It's the same as. Go ahead.
No, you're right. You're right. I was just saying you're right. Keep going.
Oh, I was going to say it's almost the same as Marriott Homes and Villas, right? They're like, oh, the short-term rental thing is really taking off. We don't want to own any properties. We don't want to start buying homes and managing them. let's just partner up with really good operators. Let's give them our standards. Let's do all the things, and let's open up. And by the way, another breaking story, Marriott's 200 millionth loyalty member has crossed the line. So being the biggest loyalty brand, let's use that to our best ability. And I'm not surprised that Hilton, again, going back to I'm not surprised Hilton did this partnership with AutoCamp, but I'm shocked in the sense that they didn't just go in. But I think we've seen this play out in other brands, so I'm interested to see how this will play down the road in long term. And I think even to bring up Quentin again, he had a great post on LinkedIn kind of talking about the same thing of, when are they going to get into brand ownership? What's the future of glamping look like? And I think we've seen this in other brands. This isn't a first time thing. It's just the first major brand to really do it. So I think it's going to be really interesting to watch, and it's definitely going to be something that we'll cover again in the future on the show for sure.
And
By
Kelly,
the way,
Kelly
Kelly's
mentioned
comment.
KSL Resorts kicked it off with glamping partnership. It's true. I think Hilton take us to the next level. So thanks for sharing that. And Christopher as well.
I love that. I love Christopher's comment. Is there a consumer loyalty to segment to it? But I think again, and that's a great question. Are people going to come back and continue going? Yeah, sure. There might be some, but I think more so it's a barrier to entry. Maybe people that wouldn't normally even know where to begin with glamping. Yeah, they can try it. And it's kind of this must be vetted and approved because I'm a Hilton loyalist. So this has got to be a pretty decent experience. So it's pretty smart because I think a lot of more people will be willing to venture into glamping, so to speak, because of this.
Well, to touch on that really quickly before we go on to the next topic, but I was just gonna say there is a big category of people that do this type of travel without being a Hilton loyalty reward. So it's gonna probably convert a good chunk of people to their program. And the thing with loyalty in this sector, I think there's a big group of people that glamp, camp, all the things, but it's hard to do it with the same operator at multiple times and frequencies because of the scalability, right? So I think if yes, there is a repeat customer base, but they're not staying at the same lodge or camping site every time. They're probably they're traveling like that frequently, but they're not staying at the same location. So now with this partnership, it's all about scalability and getting that loyalty reward. So that's my kind of thinking. But Quentin, I know you're a big leader in the camping, glamping space. So your thoughts are much appreciated. We'll probably have to get you on the show one of these days. So.
Definitely. Because that's interesting stuff. Oh my gosh, we could talk about all of this. We have so we can go a couple of minutes over today. Today's show is going to be a long one, Pierre. But we'll shift gears, kind of talking a little bit about the restaurant industry as well as some cruising. So we might have to dive more into this at another point, depending on how we get into this today. But there's a restaurant crisis happening, and I know. Steve, you probably got a lot to say about this just with more of your F&B background. I certainly see it. I mean, pretty much in general, the restaurant industry has always had a high turnover rate. And obviously since the pandemic, hiring people, keeping talent, retaining talent is even more challenging than ever. What was the rate in here? Oh, this is crazy. So restaurants have an annual turnover rate of 74%. What? That is the highest of any industry in the United States. But more so, what they were kind of talking about are the problems. There are just inherent problems to the restaurant industry that without a bigger shift, we're kind of stuck in this place where it's like restaurants are operating a certain way, but consumers, people going to restaurants, have a certain level of expectation for their dining experience. And so they're kind of at this crossroads that restaurants want to shift a bit more, whether it is having, you order at the counter and then you sit down and then guests are like, no, I want the whole dining experience, please. Well, that also requires more staff. There's a lot of challenging things. Tipping, shifting away from tipping to just having it being higher priced items. A lot of restaurants are like, I want to be able to tip or not. So there are so many problems with the restaurant industry. Steve, talk to us. What are you seeing?
Well, this is a whole show in itself. I think this
I
article that
know.
came out, so we can touch on it here, but you mentioned the turnover is gigantic, and there's a lot of things that go into
Insane.
that. There's a million jobs that are still open in the restaurant industry across the country. And it's not going to get any better because I'm talking to a lot of friends here just locally, and Miami is one of the hottest cities in the world right now, and they're shutting down restaurants because they can't afford to keep them
Yeah.
open
Yeah.
because they can't pay enough to get people to work there. The food costs are all getting very expensive. The
Yep.
rents are increasing, so the margins are like razor thin unless you're one of these like ultra successful restaurants that are out there. But all the mom and pop kind of restaurants that make neighborhoods are really struggling. So it's going
Yeah.
to come out to using new technologies to help make these team members that are there more efficient so they don't feel like they have to quit. Right?
Yeah.
Because they're so stressed out. They're like, I can't take all these 10 orders at the same time that came in, or I can't cook all these things at once, or make 10 drinks at the bar. So I really think that, there's some robotics companies. It sounds like science fiction, but there's some robotics companies already helping in the back of house, in the kitchens, by getting a lot of things done that a human then finishes off. I see it on the cruise ships
Yeah.
with the, maker shaker robots that
Totally.
they have them there, but it's more of a show, but I think you'll see more of that like in service bars. There's espresso machines now that, you don't see the fancy espresso machine here. It's just a button that costs $25,000 for the machine, but it makes espressos and cappuccinos really fast that maybe the guests to see. So I think it's a little bit of a show that will have to happen where behind the scenes, there's a lot of efficiencies that help the team so they don't freak out and keep quitting on us. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm seeing, and I would hope happens.
Oof.
Yeah.
Will, you got any 2 cents on this?
Well, I was gonna say that I have a lot of thoughts on this because I don't have an extensive but we won't go into all of them. I promise I won't ramble. But I only had a small food and beverage experience, unlike Steve's career of amazing experiences. But I
And
was in a
my
fine dining restaurant.
incredible long-lived bartending years. Yeah, keep going.
And you're a
Yeah,
host,
yeah,
you're a
yeah,
restaurant host, you know.
yeah. Well,
Take it.
I think to Steve, to your points, I think there's a couple things, and I know this is hard for the smaller mom and pop shops to do, right? Like they can't afford things like vertically integrating and growing their own, peppers and greenery and mushrooms and
Mhm.
all these other things to help save costs, and then be able to sell that to the community, to other restaurants, and have that kind of other extra revenue. I think the thing, an issue with the restaurant industry right now is that the margins are so tight, and they've been on such a model of building that price and cost and revenue stream into the menu items and not looking at other things to cut efficiencies and make sure that the staff wasn't running around with their head cut off like the chicken with their head cut off. And so I think like venture capital, this is like an area that's very lacking. Every time I talk to a private equity firm or a venture capital arm, they never want to touch the restaurant industry because of the labor. They know it's low margin, it's impossible to 10x or 100x or whatever. But I think there's a huge opportunity if you can find either a robotic or a software. I know that Toast was mentioned in that article. So
Yeah.
if Toast can expand into other things to help optimize restaurants, and definitely, it's really hard to say, but like restaurants and hotels suck at training their people. It's a big issue. And the
Yep.
reason why there's such a big turnover probably in the restaurant side is because you just get thrown to the wolves. So
Totally.
literally,
Totally.
it's and I'll be honest too. Like guests, people, diners, whatever you want to call them, they're also not the most nicest people. Sometimes a lot of
Yeah,
people can
totally.
be kind of pretentious,
Yeah.
and so like having to
Well,
deal with that.
yeah.
There's just so there's a lot of things, and I just think that better
Because they're
training.
hangry. They're hangry, Will. That's
They
why.
are
They're
hangry.
they're hangry. But interesting news is that Wendy's, the drive-through fast food restaurant, is doing dynamic pricing now, or surge pricing like Uber does. So this might be an interesting thing to look at. And I
Oh,
know that it's been attempted in the past, and it got destroyed by the consumer. But I think this is now the time of dynamic pricing. Airlines
so
can
what,
do it,
like a
hotels do
Frosty at
it.
8 PM is gonna be more expensive than like a Frosty at 5 PM?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone else does it except for the food and
Okay.
beverage industry.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
short-term rentals, hotels, like I don't know if you got a line out the door, it makes sense, and that
Well,
helps
I'm
increase margin. That helps increase pay people and training and all the other stuff that you need to do. So I don't know. What do
hello,
you guys think?
happy hour is the original dynamic pricing.
That was to lower it down.
Dynamic. Yeah.
Now we're
Yeah, yeah,
gonna
yeah.
spike
Yeah,
it up.
yeah, for sure to lower it down, but it's to look. But again, that's the other aspect of dynamic pricing is that like you lower it so that you can encourage people to come in earlier when it isn't as busy. So dynamic pricing isn't necessarily only just more expensive when it's busier. Obviously, that's one side of it, but it's
Yeah.
also lowering the price. I mean, we see that with many business. My massage, the place I go to for massages is like, come get a massage at 10 a.m. and
Yeah.
it's 50% off, and I'm like, I don't want to.
And I
Nobody
would do
wants
this
to
on
attend it.
yeah, but I would do this on reservations for tables at popular places. They're not really
Yeah.
doing this, and I think maybe
Yeah.
people dabbled but I was trying to get a reservation at a very popular restaurant. I had to call in a lot of favors. I got in, but I would have paid $100, $150 just to get the table. And that's just free
Stop.
money. Yeah, for the right
Stop.
place, the
Oh my
place you
God.
want to see and be seen.
No, I
Yeah.
get it, dude. As a concierge, the number of reservations that I was able to secure for people and like they
But wouldn't you
it-
say, hey, I can work on this, but I can't guarantee it. But if you want to guarantee it, it's $100 on your vacation.
oh, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? No. That would have been great. Like the pay to play. I mean, but that it's but then they would one might argue is that okay, we'll pay to play, but I am paying to stay at this hotel, and part of the perks of that are the good
Yeah.
connections you can get through I mean, you can look at it in many different ways. As
Yeah.
a concierge, for sure, I'd be like, can I buy my way into making this an easier request to deliver? But you can't always do that, so
Yeah.
it's
Well, and the dynamic pricing space, like there's in the hotel world, you have Duetto, you have a bunch of these softwares, right? And I think
The
there's
room,
there's
yeah.
nothing really like there's no like I get the happy hour comment, but I think it's like you gotta I don't know, there's lacking. It's
Chick-fil-A
very
is
much
gonna
lack.
be so expensive. I'm sorry, I just
I
saw
know.
this
I'm dying at these comments. The bacon burger
God.
going $100, no thanks, and the son of a
Oh my God.
baconator, so good.
Oh.
I think this is definitely something for higher end restaurants or maybe restaurants that are not fast food. So
Yeah.
that would be if a baconator started jumping price, I would be like, see ya.
I can't. I
But
can't.
like your guys' comments, if a good table at a good restaurant was an extra $100 and maybe the food was a little bit more expensive because it's peak hours, I'm fine with that as long as I get the good service and I get the quality that I want. So
That is a really good point. I mean, I know a lot of people, especially, being right here in the heart of West Hollywood and Beverly Hills and some of the top restaurants. Yeah, people would definitely do that just so that they can get that prime table at the prime time. So, I mean, there are different ways that you can look at it for sure. So,
We make a ton of money off cancellation fees. So those cancellation fees where you say, hey, it's $50 if you don't show
yeah,
up.
yeah.
I would make so much money. That was just like a whole other line. We would just print money. It was free money.
Yeah.
People just like not showing up. But anyhow,
Oh,
again, we could do a whole show on this.
yeah, maybe we have to bring this
100%.
back. Let us know if you guys
Well,
want us
I
to do a deeper dive into this.
Hey, Terry White on the Monday show said he thinks this show needs to be 45 to 60 minutes long, not 30.
Woo!
So maybe we
Woo!
change the GMH structure. We'll see.
Well,
We'll
you
see.
guys let us know. You always got to be mindful of people's timing. But let's go ahead and talk about our last topic before we wrap up for today. Virgin Voyages, they have I guess officially launched the fastest internet at sea, where they've got Starlink powered Wi-Fi. And I think they had Starlink before. I was actually trying to look into this because I've been on Virgin Voyages. But this is definitely the fastest Wi-Fi, which for anybody that's been on a cruise ship, I think that's probably the craziest part of it is that, and maybe you might welcome it that you're going on a cruise and you're like, sorry, out to sea, won't be able to be in touch with you. But some people do want to be able to stay in touch or post about their experience, or maybe there are a lot of cruise lines that are also promoting working while at sea. I know Azamara Voyages, for example, they're promoting that. So I mean, just having access to this higher internet is extremely important for the cruise industry.
Listen, I drive by that ship every day. I see it every day. I've not been on it, but I love that because
nice.
my wife got stuck. We were on Royal Caribbean. I felt really bad for her. She's an attorney and she had a big case that all of a sudden caught on fire and she had to work basically every day. And the Wi-Fi was so slow that it made it so painful for her to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that more and more people, if they knew they had access to good Wi-Fi, may do a little bit more of like a leisure trip, right? Like, I go to work from the cruise ship and then also head on out.
or be open to the longer cruises. I get invited on longer cruises all the time, 7, 10, 12 days.
Yeah, but you can't.
And there are many times that I'm like, that's awesome. And what a wonderful position to be in. But I'm also like, I can't be out of pocket for that many days. Like I got stuff to do. I got people to be in contact
Yeah.
with.
So I'm really excited
So
to see what people say because I know it'll show up on the reviews online very soon.
and it's not just consumers, by the way. It's also as far as operating, operations. It's very helpful for the crew and all of the logistics on the back end. So it's not just consumer focused. A lot of cruise lines can actually benefit from this. So cutting edge connectivity. Who thought we would be saying those words in 2024?
Totally agree. Yeah, my 30th birthday is next year, and all my friends are saying we need to go on a cruise. So as long
You're
as the
just
cruise
a
has good Wi-Fi,
baby.
I know. But as
Do
long
it.
as the cruise has Wi-Fi, then yeah, I'm in. Count me in.
Love it.
Sign me
Love
up.
it.
That's a good birthday. Cruises are fun for that.
That is
Yeah.
cool. Okay, guys. For the sake of time, should we do our real-time recap or just go right into our hospitality quote?
Let's
You
do
got a
it.
quick-
Let's do our whole show. We never have Will on here. This is
Okay,
the
we
first
never have
one.
Will.
Let's
Okay,
run him
fine.
through here.
Fine. Okay, a real-time recap. Oh my gosh. All right. What have you guys seen out in the wild, the hospitality wild? What have your experiences been? You
Go
got
for it,
you.
Will. You get to
Yeah.
go first today.
Yeah, Will.
Ooh, all right. I didn't know what one to do for this one, so I kind of have two of the same boat where I
Okay.
had a really bad Uber driver.
Oof.
Like he almost kicked me out of the car. I don't know why. He was just in a bad mood, and it was snowing out in Denver, and like he didn't pull up to the whole spot. So like he maybe pulled away 30. He stopped 30 feet before coming up to me, and I kind of like waved him up. I was like, it was just dumping snow. I waved him up. I was like, come on, like help me out. I'm trying to not get snowed on right now. And I made the comment to him in the car. I was like, oh man, thanks for making me walk. Just kidding. How's your day? Are you Daniel? And he was like, oh, you wanna be like that? You can get out of my car. And I was like, oh, okay. I was just joking. I'm good. It was a joke. If you want me out, I'm out. Like, no worries. And then I had a really good Uber driver on my way to the airport. She killed it. So it made up for the experience. But Daniel, the Uber driver in Denver, was just not happy. Maybe he woke up on the wrong side of the bed, didn't like my dry humor joke of thanks for making me walk. But I said it in a pretty nice tone. Like I made sure to make it a joke. But that was my real-time recap.
Ooh. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God. I got
Just
so
off
much
an
to
Uber
say about
driver.
that. I got so because I'm in a lot of Ubers, and I'll just chime in on this, and then we'll kind of keep it moving. But my biggest pet peeve is when the driver does not get out of their car to help put the suitcase in their trunk. By the way,
Yeah.
I don't mind picking up my own suitcase. I'm a firm believer. If you pack it, you got to be able to carry it. Like that is what that is. I tell my mom that all the time. She doesn't listen to me. So like I can carry everything that I pack. I can lift it, but I feel like it's almost rude when they don't get out of their car. And I get it. It's just Uber. And especially if it's like just the Uber X or like whatever Lyft, but I don't know. To me, there just seems that that's just the minimum standards is at least you get out of your car almost to like greet the person. If they have a bag, if they have a suitcase. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but that's my real-time recap. If you are driving for people, get out of your car and help them with their bag. That's just part of the experience. You don't want them to like scuff up your car. Anyway.
And like for me, I was like, it was dumping snow. Like, why
Yeah,
did you
and
stop?
that too.
And he saw it. I was like, hey, like this is me, but he was so far away. I was like, you're gonna make me walk
Or if
out
you
this?
don't get out, acknowledge it and say, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
can't get out. I have like a bum
yeah,
leg." Well, I don't know why you're
yeah.
driving. Or like, I can't get out because like, oh, it's raining. Like, oh, okay, fine. Like, sure.
Yeah,
But yeah. Anyway, okay,
I
Steve,
feel
your
you.
turn.
First world problems, right? First world.
Bring it around here. I had the fantastic opportunity to be at the South Beach Wine and Food Festival with
Were you ever there? You were not only there, you were all over social media there. I was like, did
Yeah.
you move in? What happened?
I was great. It was all about what I love about this is that the energy during this time. If you guys haven't been, make sure to come on down because it's such a great festival. It's all the top chefs from around the world. and they all come and really put out their best foot forward. And everyone there, it's local restaurants, these famous chefs, the beverage companies, they are all giving it 1,000%. And that energy in each one of these tents and each one of the venues is at an all-time high. So I think I consumed just a little too much, and maybe my system has fallen apart since then, but worth it. Worth it. And so congratulations to everyone. And the best part is they donate so much money to the local Florida International University Hospitality School. So they've already raised $37 million just by doing this festival. And it's amazing to see it. But yeah, you were writing me, Sarah, seeing like every influencer's there. Everyone is in the same rooms. It's so
having
funny.
such FOMO. Every time I opened up my Instagram app, it was like either you were there. I had some of my I've got a lot of food blogger friends. All my food blogger friends from South Florida were there. It was there. Anthony Melchiori showed up. I'm like, yo, no invite? What's going on? So
we were in the same place. I was looking for him. I couldn't find him. He was going live when I was going live. I couldn't find him somewhere.
Each other. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I'm inviting myself next year. So I don't know who I got to talk to, but
come on down. Come on down.
Thanks. Okay. So this hospitality quote, this actually, by the way, Steve, was inspired by one of your posts, which really resonated with me. And I know that you might not be the person behind this.
No, I wrote it for myself. There's days I write things to myself on LinkedIn.
Oh, I do that too. But you wrote about turning anxiety into action. And I loved that, because I have so many people that reach out to me that they're just like, they're anxious about this and they're anxious, like I get it. We work in a very unpredictable industry. And your concept as far as like, okay, you kind of acknowledge it, but then turn it into action so that you're not sitting there and stewing in this, oh my gosh, what if? But you chime in more on it because, hey, that was your quote. You talked about it.
When I was young, Steve Turk will say, when I was turning 30, like Will, I had my first company and I didn't know what I was doing. And I would just get stuck in these anxiety loops. Like, oh my God, we're going to run out of cash. Oh my God, we're not going to be able to make payroll. Oh my God, we're not going to be able to find a new client or this, whatever it might be. And you get stuck in these things. And I had a business coach like, Steve, yeah, I hear you, but use that and turn it into action. The more action you start creating, you'll get results that you want. And so I was like, you know what? Ever since then, I could feel it. It still comes up in all of us. I'm sure all three of us own our companies. We get that anxiety. It's all right. I hear you. Now I'm going to use that and power through and send out those extra 30 emails or make those extra 20 phone calls or make these next plans, right? So I think for anyone out there, anytime you have that, whether you're a business owner or you're at work, is to use that to turn it into a positive, because it can go the opposite way very quickly.
Yeah, we're as humans wired to solve problems. And when we don't solve problems, that's what makes anxiety happen. So it's basically like the reason why you're having anxiety. I heard this on another show, another podcast. And the reason why you have anxiety is because you're delaying taking action, right? And so it's a great quote, and it's definitely something I need to remind myself of. So thank you, Steve, for the inspiration on LinkedIn every day.
Yeah.
And by the way, also, thank you, Steve, for showing up today. How about that for pushing through? How about that?
You all make my day. I'm going to head out of here and get my Gatorade and lay down again.
You're like, go get horizontal. Wow. Well, what a show, guys. I think that's our show. Look at us.
I'm so happy. This was a nice little accident to get all three of us here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our first Monday and Wednesday crossover, which is great. We've been talking about doing it for a while. So yeah, and a longer episode than normal, but thank you for all the listeners and live viewers for, going through it. It's been a fun. I've really enjoyed it. I think these topics were there. It was refreshing for me because I don't really get to talk about hotels and restaurants on our Monday show. So it's nice to expand the horizon of conversation here.
It's always fun to have different conversations. So
yeah, and the three of us here, power trio. And give us some comments here. Do you like the three of us on the show? I think this was a good energy here today.
I might leave the Monday crew. I might leave the Monday crew for Wednesday.
Oh, well, you have the power to do that.
Yes.
Oh, and look what Tanner says. It's the 200th episode.
Oh, and the 200th episode. Yes. Thank you, Tanner. We were so distracted by all the additional people on the show, but how appropriate, Will.
It was meant to happen.
Meant to
Yep.
be.
Our
Oh, I love it.
200th. I love it.
Ding, ding,
This
ding.
podcast has been such a blessing to have. And so, yeah, thank you two, for being an awesome crew. In addition to it, you've made the show so much better. Not that it was bad before, but it's just so much fun. And you guys, your energies together is incredible. So not to hype you guys up too much, but just think
Keep
it's
going.
yeah. It's a great crew. So really thankful for you guys and for all of our listeners who make this possible. So I think that's a wrap. So
that's a wrap. That is our show
Sarah,
for today. Yes.
Sarah, if you're cool with it, can I outro us? Can I get
please do. Go for it.
All right. Perfect. So for all the live viewers and listeners, make sure you like and subscribe. Not only Monday, not only Wednesday, but all the Good Morning Hospitality content, wherever you may find it, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the above. And of course, like always, we'll see you again next week.